I am surprised by Arsenal. I really am. And if you look at their form since the turn of the year, you know when Arsenal went on their winter break to Dubai and Ben White came back like a man possessed? With
a great tan as well.
They have been flawless. Yeah. They've, apart from the Aston Villa game, I think every single Premier League game, they've won in as much as they've got what they wanted out of the game. So they didn't beat Man City, but they won on the day. They got what they wanted out of the game. There's been one defeat, effectively, and that's not going to be enough to win the league.
Does that show how high, the bar is that Manchester City have set, though? Because I've been saying this to Arsenal fans. I think for us to win the league, we would need to be flawless. We'd need to win. I've been saying it from 7-8 games ago. We need to win every single game. But the enormity of what you're asking of Arsenal is huge. You'd have essentially been saying that of the 18 Premier League games they had to play in 2024, they needed to win 17 of them.
I think what it actually tells us is that the league was over for Arsenal pre the turn of the year. That the league actually ended for Arsenal on those back-to-back London derby defeats. When Arsenal lost at home, I think they lost at home to West Ham, got battered by West Ham, in fact. Could have been 3-0. Do you remember Declan Rice gave a penalty? No, the scoreline at least. The scoreline was a battering.
I thought Arsenal played well that day. I thought the one that was a real kick in the teeth was the Fulham game.
The two consecutive defeats. But do you know why I think the West Ham game was so symbolic? Firstly, it was first.
Yep.
And secondly, it was a defeat at home.
Yeah.
Up until that point, Arsenal hadn't lost anything at home. Arsenal were invincible at home, actually. And suddenly, West Ham went there. They won 2-0. They missed a penalty, actually, which could have made it 3-0, which changes the complexion of the way that it feels, at least. And I think what it's taught us is... taught is probably not the right terminology, because nobody has learned that Manchester City are an amazing machine. But what I did think, if you'd said to me at the turn of the year, if Arsenal take nearly maximum points between now and the end of the season, will they win the league? If Arsenal wins 17 out of 18 or 18 out of 19, whatever it ends up being, will they win the league? I'd have said yes. Whereas Manchester City have just made that no. So when you explore why Arsenal haven't won the league, it's more likely that you have to go back to maybe not winning at Stamford Bridge when Arsenal were in great form and Chelsea were all over the place, not winning in those two consecutive London derbies.
Do you look back at sort of Thomas Partey's fitness in recent weeks, the fact that he's been really, really good and impressive? Do you look back and think if only he was fit all season?
I most certainly don't look at it wistfully. I don't wish him well. I certainly don't wish Arsenal.
Sure you don't.
I certainly don't wish Arsenal well. No, not by any stretch. What I do though is I rate Thomas Partey possibly more highly than anyone else you've ever met. I think he's truly brilliant, and I know that it went slightly off the boil for him towards the end, about this time last year, and that's allowed people to taint his contribution to last season. He didn't play well in the final 3 or 4 games when you really needed him to. And when Arsenal lost the league in those ridiculous home fixtures, Thomas Partey didn't do well enough. But the reason that Arsenal were in a position to win the league was because Thomas Partey was so good. I think he is absolutely brilliant. I think he's one of the best players in the league in his position and comparable. Not as good as Rodri, I'm not suggesting that. Not as good as Declan Rice even, but comparable.
Let's listen into what Mikel Arteta had to say on Declan Rice, because he's been assessing his first season as an Arsenal player.
Yeah, he's been great. He's had such an impact from day one. It's not easy when you come from a club that you've been there for a long time, but his set's already good. He's a great group. I think they've been really, really supportive with him as well. And there are players that they just come in and glide and they become part of it straight away. I remember a conversation I had with him. We were still in the US in pre-season, and I think it was 8-9 days. And he said, it feels like I've been here for 2 years, so that's a good sign.
Manchester City are taking on Wolves this weekend. It feels like Manchester City are probably going to win every game, Rory. The one game on paper that you look at and think potential banana skin is Tottenham away from home, given their record there. But we know
it's just not, is it?
It's just not going to happen,
it's
is
just
it?
Not. Do you know the debate that I'm finding very funny, Harry? The debate that's going around sort of Tottenham fans, suggesting that Tottenham fans should want their team to win that game. If you're a Tottenham fan, a proper Tottenham fan, a Tottenham fan that I understand, and this is exactly how I'd feel if it was Chelsea, you want your team to lose 5-0 that day, don't you? You genuinely do.
Well, I think you do now, because Tottenham are probably not going to finish in the top 4.
But you no.
You don't think that?
No, even if Tottenham were going to finish in the top 4, you still want to lose 5-0, don't you think?
I can see why people come from that angle. I get it.
I'd be like that. Do you know, my wife is, let's use her as a case study here, right? She doesn't understand football at all. She's not interested in it. She would say that because she is a token Chelsea fan, that she therefore wants Chelsea to win every single game. she wouldn't understand tribalism and rivalry and whatever else. She would go, well, I'm a Chelsea fan, therefore I want Chelsea to win. Whereas we know that it's way more complex than that. We know that if you are potentially going to gift your biggest rival the best thing that could have ever happened to them for the past 2 decades, you don't want to do that. And you are desperate to lose. I think any Tottenham fan genuinely worth his salt wants to see his team lose 5-0 that day.
I can understand that school of thought. I can, and that's why I don't want to look at that game as an Arsenal fan and have any sort of hopes towards it. I think that one is the right.
If I was a Tottenham fan, I'd be in that, that massive cop, and I'd be singing Blue Moon. I would. I'd be singing Blue Moon. I'd have an Erling Haaland mask on. I would be so desperate to lose that game. I think they should throw it. But do you know what Tottenham do have in them?
Go on.
They have it in them to do something absolutely ridiculous, and do you affect like they as a club. If it was the other way around, there's no way you'd do it for them. I feel like as a club, they could actually do
Are you
this.
trying to say that Tottenham are a bit of a banter club, and so because they might hand the league to their
Don't you think
rivals?
it would just be... there's just so many funny things, so many funny statistics that have happened over the years with regard to the Tottenham and Arsenal relationship. For example, I don't think it's spoken about enough, the fact that Arsenal have won the league at White Hart Lane more than Tottenham have. I think that's
crazy,
an amazing... That is an amazing stat, an amazing fact. Tottenham fans have seen their team, I believe, win the league there once.
Yep.
Arsenal fans have been in the ground and seen their team win it twice. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Don't you just think that it's so in keeping with the traditions of the two clubs that Man City are going to go to Tottenham to stop Arsenal winning the league, and Tottenham put in the game of their life. Bentancur turns into like the best player to have ever lived. Bentancur turns into Zinedine Zidane, and all of a sudden, Heung-min Son's Marco van Basten, and they gift Arsenal the league.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.